Good morning. Good morning. Probably can't hear me. Good morning. Um, Welcome to the stream. Just gonna go over some things.
Distances in hundreds of light years and a time frame
Some
in millions of
signs.
years. But relatively recently, scientists behind the study in the description found evidence for something just a little bit more dangerous, or I guess a little bit more deadly for life, a kilonova. An event that, as we discussed in one of the previous videos in the description, can definitely cause an extinction event. And it looks like there are
Mm-hmm.
signs of such an
That's pretty
event
fucked up.
happening within the last
A
5 million years,
kilonova.
not so far away from Earth. And so, hello, wonderful person, this is Anton. Let's discuss this in a little bit more detail, talk a little bit more about what we know and what we still don't know, and of course, talk about if we should be worried or not. Spoiler alert, not. This is nothing to worry about. But this is definitely an exciting discovery, especially because of when we think it might have happened. But first, a quick reminder. So there are actually a lot of different types of explosions out there, very often produced by exploding stars. And the most common are of course supernova, with one of the most studied supernova remnants visible right here. This is the Crab Nebula, about 6,500 light years away from us, with the supernova occurring in the year 1054. Too far to affect the planet, but close enough for us to study this to understand what effects it might have. And based on a lot of previous studies, today the estimate is that there are maybe 20 supernova explosions within about 1,000 light years away from planet Earth in the last 10 to 11 million years. Most of these will have no effect on planet Earth, but some of them will actually have some residues that will eventually arrive to the planet and be deposited inside the sediment. Now, these
Oh,
are
the
not alive,
trash is
these are actually
here.
physical
Trash
particles,
man.
and
Trash
quite often
man.
this is particles like iron 60, whose existence on Earth can only be explained by a nearby supernova. But when it comes to dangerous supernova, anything within approximately 100 light years can potentially affect the planet enough to change the atmosphere and to then affect the ozone layer as well, with some of the most
Oh, that's
dangerous
pretty
events
cool.
that only possibly happen once every 200.
That's pretty cool. I'm actually gonna get out of here. Welcome to the stream. About to play some Armored Core, actually. No, I'm just chatting. I'm just chatting with you guys. How you doing? Doing all right? Just playing through Armored Core. Where's everybody from in chat?
Final Arena Combat Aptitude Evaluation Program. This will be the last evaluation. Subject AC, Locksmith. Call sign, V1, Freud.
Main system activating combat mode. Main system activating combat mode. AP at 50%.
Yeah, he does.
Main system activating combat mode. At 30%.
Oh, fuck.
Main system activating combat mode. AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
Damn.
Main system activating combat mode. AP at 30%.
Oh.
Main system activating combat mode. AP at 50%. At 30%.
Target destroyed. This concludes all evaluations. We thank you for your cooperation.
What you guys want to do, man? What's going on with y'all? How's y'all morning going? It's like 8 a.m. over here. Drop a follow.
Where we wanted to have combo length progression available to players, so that certain builds could have longer weapon combos and other builds can have shorter weapon combos with more passive effects. And this has been the result of our exploration.
Okay.
So when you start out, you've got a pretty quick 4-hit combo, but whenever you unlock the additional hits, you get the 5th and 6th hits.
The damage numbers look way better too.
Approximately 50% to the overall combo length, but we found
this is a big
gave
improvement.
A pretty satisfying floor and
Holy
ceiling
shit.
to how long the combo can be.
This is awesome.
I can feel absolutely the change, obviously, in the pace.
I think
between
crits should
not
stay
having
on the
spec'd
screen
into
just for
the-
like
to
a
the
little bit
combo,
longer
and getting those additional 5th and 6th
than like a normal
steps.
attack. That's like just random.
So in addition to the
small
later
personal
hits in
opinion,
the
but
combo
yeah.
doing additional damage, you also unlock proc effects.
Mhm.
So on your 5th hit,
little bit
you
more
unlock
pop
the
too?
special
Yeah.
5th hit, which
Classic
gives you
WoW,
10%
still
bonus
undefeated.
critical strike chance, which you just proc there. And then the 6th hit, you unlock the special 6th hit, which gives you Arrow Storm, which causes your next, I believe, 10 attacks to fire an additional arrow at the target.
What the fuck? That's insane.
So that combos really well.
What about that
with
snipe?
rapid
Can you
fire
do that with
abilities,
snipe?
Such as the next ability we're going to be looking at.
Okay,
All right,
let's see it.
Take a look at Barrage. So Barrage is as far as it can.
Is that really insane?
At your target.
You just play Ranger in Black Desert.
10% physical damage per arrow. Okay. Let's take a look at this.
It might not seem like a lot per arrow, but it
Oh
fires a
my
lot of
gosh.
arrows.
Now that's a charge. Is this a charged ability? Do I have multiple charges of this? No.
Right now you only have one charge.
Okay.
And we did some iterations with this, and a lot of play testing. And yeah, we changed this back to only having one charge, and you can reduce the cooldown of this by completing a weapon combo.
A what?
All right. Let me see this. So if I complete a weapon combo, it would reduce the cooldown. Now, right now I'm set to 0 cooldown, so we can show that off a little bit later. Talk to me a little bit about Headshot.
Oh.
Yeah, Headshot. It starts off. So there's ways that you can specialize this that turn it into the execute that it was born as originally.
Okay.
It does pretty high damage, but if you spec it appropriately, it does bonus damage when the target's below 50% health, and if the target is marked, it has 50% reduced cooldown, I believe, with the spec that you have.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
So
yeah, it's like kill shot.
Morning.
Okay.
So if I have a mark on the target, then I get a 50% cooldown.
Yeah, you get 50% reduced cooldown on Headshot.
Nice. Now, we haven't talked about marks before. You want to talk to me a little bit about the intent behind marks?
Okay.
Yep. The intent behind marks is to provide a burst window on the target. Often in other games, it's just bonus damage. This is much more significant on the impact that this will have on the target. It's basically marking the target for death has a pretty huge effect. For instance, Mark
I
of the
would
Tiger,
expect that.
It grants 50% bonus critical chance to all attacks striking the target. Mark of the Bear is minus 25% armor.
I see.
And Mark of the Raven is a bonus hit that occurs every time the target is struck, and it scales up in damage based on how low on health the target is.
That's actually kind of
let me
interesting.
try Mark of the Bear.
50% crit increases? I mean, it's all beta, right? They'll probably have to nerf a little bit of it.
Like headshot, I just did 76 damage. If I were to start headshot and then I can use the Mark of the Bear while I'm channeling the or casting the headshot, it will apply to the target while I'm essentially using headshot. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Keenan and the engineers made us some awesome you might know it in other games as off-global cooldown tech. We call it simultaneous casting. And yeah, that allows you to cast your marks at the same time as other abilities, allowing for very efficient use of time.
Awesome. Okay, so now it's gone from him.
Hey.
76 again. Wow. That's
The Trashman?
Hey, this is improving a lot.
Mark of the Bear is really good against tank.
Holy
I don't know what
shit.
you're talking about.
Mark of the Raven. Let's take a look at this.
Good paper?
I love the effect. Scott has done some
You said
great
paper?
This is wow.
Yeah, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I love that he decided to join the Apex team and come over and help us with combat. He's doing a great job so far.
Absolutely. Let's see.
This is what it's all about.
Oh, they look great. Very cool.
Yeah, combat is like the defining
Now,
thing.
in addition to marks, talk to me, Trad, a little bit about hunts. What are the hunts intended to do?
For sure. So unlike marks, which are debuffs on the target, hunts are different buffs you can put on yourself. They're both themed pretty similarly. At first, we had started with linking these two concepts directly, like you would put the hunt on yourself and then shoot that hunt out as a mark, and infuse the target with that. But we ended up kind of separating them just to make them a little bit more independently and freely usable. But the theming you can see is the same. We've chosen the tiger, bear, and raven.
Let me do it because niggas gonna think we trolling too much. Yo, welcome back, Playback. Let's go back. So the Jonathan Major trial is officially over, and just to cut through a lot of the BS, he was found guilty on 2 charges, but also not guilty on another 2 charges. The 2 charges that he was found not guilty on are probably the more important ones, the ones that we're going to put him in jail for an extended period of time. Was the assault in a 3rd degree with intent to cause physical harm or physically injure her. That was not guilty. And also the aggravated harassment in 2nd degree, also not guilty. However, the charge that he was found guilty for was the assault in 3rd degree, recklessly causing physical injury, and also harassment in 2nd degree. This is a slight win because Jonathan Majors is not going to do any extended period of time in jail. If he does, it's only up to 1 year for $1,000 fine and 3 years of probation based off the research that I've done.
1 year is crazy.
But it's up to. Well, a lot of people believe that he's probably not going to do any time at all. Probably going to get hit with a fine, especially because the harassment in 2nd degree, it's technically not even a criminal charge. It's just a fine. The ticket is fine. You don't have a criminal record. The only thing that's going to hold a criminal record against him would be the 3rd degree recklessly causing physical injury assaults that he was found guilty on. Basically, now when it comes to the 2 not guilty charges, what essentially it means that the jury did not believe that he is this aggressive man that was going around bopping her from left to right. None of those, none of the pieces of evidence that makes sense because everything was fairly inconsistent from start to finish. Unfortunately, I know many people who probably wasn't following the case don't understand why, but just briefly, the people out there who talk about the text message and the voice recording, be very mindful that was from another incident, was not in this incident. And before we even got in the beginning of the trial, Grace Jabari was on record saying that Jonathan Majors had never put her hands on her before until the night that was in question. So if we were to believe her and she said this under oath, then those text messages and that voice recording had to be referencing something that did not lead to a physical altercation. So there's that. Those text messages may seem damning, and the voice recording is definitely damning. It sounds damning. But if you are a man in particular, or a black man especially, you probably understand the perception of what it may feel like to be someone that looks like you are bopping a woman, and so you're going to be very cautious on how people deal with it. So much so that you probably wouldn't call the police, and
True.
was kind of outlined that way in the text message. And also, it wouldn't be consistent with his character, because if you believe that he was previously bopping her, then why would he call the police on the night that is in question? Because he is the one who called the police to make sure that she got her some type of attendance, some help.
She was knocked out.
Now, the other case, the other charge, and this is where things get a little sticky now, in particular, the assault in the 3rd degree, recklessly causing physical injury. He was found guilty on that, essentially because they believe the way that he handled the situation where he was pushing her back to the car was him acting recklessly, which could have potentially resulted in physical injury. We talked about this, actually. We cut it out of the video, but last time we recorded, we said, well, technically speaking, he did shove her. That is an assault. You know, he could get hit with that.
Bro, the only person that acted recklessly was her chasing this nigga down 8 different blocks. That's reckless. And he's not just like, he's not like, if Lo walked down the street,
we know that.
You're no danger. But if Jonathan Majors walks down the street with no security doing nothing, he could potentially be in danger. You don't know what city he's in. You don't know who wants what. You have a lot to lose. Bro, she acted so recklessly. The fact that he's being deemed the reckless one in this situation is crazy. The reality is her recklessness, if I act recklessly towards you, and then in your defense of me, you get accused of assaulting me, that's brain dead. That's genuinely brain dead. You're basically admitting in the court system that women have no ability to harm a man, but men have to be ultra sensitive, because even in the defense of themselves, him putting her back into the car, that qualifies as reckless causing physical injury.
Yep.
That's nuts, man.
I said that too. I said Jonathan Majors was essentially found guilty because he was too aggressive when attempting to get away from Grace Jabari. That's essentially why he got hit with it. That's essentially it.
Wow, bro.
In the attempt of trying to remove himself from the situation and separate himself from Grace Jabari, they believe that he was acting too recklessly, and he did it in an aggressive manner. And that right there, it could lead to her being injured, and that's what they found him guilty. They didn't find him guilty on this concept that he was this abusive man that was bopping her. He did not find guilty on that. Wasn't found guilty that he was harassing her with the intent to injure her. Was not found guilty of that. He was simply found guilty because he did something.
He was just trying to get away.
That could have resulted in her being injured. 2 things. A, I think his lawyers did a really bad job, because what they did throughout the entire case was focusing on if she was or was not hurt after the altercation. What they should have also made sure they focused on, which is also crazy because I don't think there's enough evidence to prove she was injured after that altercation. Be very mindful that after that happened, she used the same hand that was bruised with, tied the back of her hair. The woman that she met tried to stop her from chasing after Jonathan Majors. With her hand, she snatched her hand away from her. She was using her hand on the railing to go up and down stairs throughout the nightclubs. She using her hand to hold a cigarette, hold a drink, dig in her purse, and find that nigga's credit card and swipe it left and right on VIP tables and bottles. She used her hand to do that all night. And also, this information that we did not put in there that I learned about, the lacerated cut behind her ear, her lacerated ear, there was no blood in the car. There was no incident or anyone saying that when they met her that they saw her ear cuts. There was no blood dripping from her face. And then she went out. Mind you, somebody slapped you so hard across the face that your whole ear gets cut. You probably would have a headache and not want to go out to the club. But no, of course, she went out to the club with loud music. And the one incident where they claim to have been blood is at the loft, at the suite that he stays in, that she passed out at, where the police officer said that he did see some blood residue on the pillow, which would be consistent of her putting her head down, and then that's where the blood would be.
Bro.
Be very mindful that she also walked into a wall after she got drunk.
That means the jury believes that it's more likely he hurt her than there's video evidence of her walking into a wall drunk. She was so drunk she passed out in the loft. But for some reason, he's such a threat that they can't fathom she injured herself drunk out of her fucking mind by herself.
Now again, let's be clear.
The fuck?
There's no proof. Technically speaking, there's no proof that she got injured irrefutably doing something else. But also, it's not on Jonathan Majors' part. They have to prove that she got injured within a reasonable doubt after that, during that incident. Even though there's several pieces of evidence that it doesn't seem that way. And it's very reasonable to believe that a woman who was so drunk out of her mind that she walked into a wall and also passed out in the closet. It's very reasonable to believe that she did that to herself. And also, seeing from some of the other text messages and voice messages that were recorded, you could very well argue that she may have done this before in a way that I read it as a man being in some similar situations, or other men that I know who've been in similar situations. What it sounds like is Jonathan Majors is disappointed in the way that she handles herself with her alcohol. She's not being a proper representation of herself and embarrassing herself in the relationship they have, and not honestly and genuinely recognizing the sacrifice that he makes, and she just goes out and does what she wants to do. She gets so drunk that it leads to that level of representation. Who knows what could have happened? There's a possibility that she's bumped her head before on something, that she's done ridiculous wild stuff while she's drunk that has resulted in her essentially injuring herself. And Jonathan Majors said, yo, take some painkillers first. Let's try. Before you go to the hospital, they start asking you questions, because now it looks like I done bopped you left and right. Take some painkillers first, and then we'll figure out it after that, because you about to just warn me because you don't know how to handle your liquor.
Wow, bro.
That's because
She
after
went out by herself and got blackout drunk. Think about how dangerous that is.
she didn't go by herself, she met some strangers and got blackout drunk. Think about how dangerous that is.
That's by yourself. You don't know. They don't have no allegiance towards you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You're solo, and anybody could have. Obviously, niggas gonna like try and, you feel me? Even that part.
Like that's crazy.
Why is you letting two niggas accompany you on a night out?
You got blacked out drunk around some random strangers. That's how loose you are with some of your decision making. So again, like Agent said, the one who was actually reckless that night was her. But it is so interesting, especially the way the conversation is centered around all of this.
Damn,
how no one is talking about that at all. It's all about Jonathan Majors, and which then leads to the bigger point of this video. To the fellas out there, I don't know what else you need to see. This trial is irrefutable evidence that you as a man is at a massive deficit when you're dealing with women. You're at a massive deficit, bro. There's no other way around it, bro. She acted reckless by essentially trying to steal. This is what the lawyer should have said.
Yo, what's up on YouTube?
Stole his, even if you want to say that he
what's going on? Good morning. Got 3 people in the stream.
He has the right to receive his person back from you, which would be the cell phone that you took from him forcefully. He has a right to use force to take that back, as well as separate you forcefully because you are essentially assaulting him as well. But they didn't argue that. They were trying to argue that she wasn't even injured in the first place.
I'm pretty sure he
tried to countersue her, but the judge said, no, we're not going to allow that to happen.
And they didn't let him countersue.
Grab Lowe's phone, and this nigga's like, give me my phone back.
And
he assaulted me, and I did nothing wrong. First of all, there's a lot wrong with this situation here. It's obvious the bias in the court system. We don't even have to fucking beat that horse till it fucking dies. The reality is Marvel dropped him. I don't know if you heard.
Yeah, and then also the result of all this is, as soon as the verdict came in, Marvel dropped him from basically everything.
And it's like they waited because they probably would have just let it fly if he wasn't found guilty. Mm-hmm. And the reality is they probably like him and realize that Marvel is too PG of a brand to be in the space of this type of allegations to begin with. So the second he's guilty, boom, he's getting packed. So he loses out on all the momentum he's built with Creed, all of the Marvel movies. He loses out on all of that momentum in his career because of an incident where it seems as though he did nothing wrong. All he did was try and remove himself from a situation, and she was so aggressive in pursuits that they found him as the one moving recklessly. She chased this nigga down blocks, bro. I don't give a fuck, bro. They have to have some evidence we don't know about. I just refuse to believe they indicted this nigga on this evidence. It sounds too unbelievable, though. It sounds insane, bro. Yeah. And to the people making this black man, white woman conversation, what the fuck is wrong with you, my nigga?
I think that has something to do with it, but I think most people are trying to turn it into, well, that's what he deserved for dating that milk.
Look at that top comment. All y'all niggas have craving milk. This is what comes with that lifestyle. Yeah. Almost as if to say, he deserves this for dating somebody that he, I'm assuming, fell in love with. That's not something he deserves.
And when y'all say it, y'all essentially are acknowledging that white women in particular can get away with these things because they're white women. And you are acknowledging the disadvantages of it. I think this has way more to just do with, again, the relationships with men and women, and how, as a man, you're dealing with a woman that puts you at a disadvantage, at a deficit. You're dealing with a woman that is a liability. You now become more accountable for her liabilities than your own.
Your own. And on top of that, what's stopping men from seeing this situation and being like, why would I call the police to help
in the first place? Yeah.
He went to his own loft, found her passed out drunk with blood, and called the police, which is what you would do if you cared about the person that was on the fucking ground. He wasn't thinking about what the implications might be for him. And then this is the result. This is the result.
Which, again, I want to be clear to the people out there who think that he's this aggressive bopper. It's not consistent with the type of character that they try to outline. How is it possible that this man, for maybe a few instances prior, was so aware of like making sure that no one knew that he was bobbing her, to the point where he didn't even want her to go to the hospital because that could then lead to a line of questions that could then reveal that he actually is bopping her. All of a sudden, sees her passed out in this man's loft with a bruised finger, cut behind the ear, and some pills, and was like, I need to call the police now. After, allegedly, he's the one who smacked her across the face in the car, as she claimed. Of course, that's not what happened. That doesn't even make any sense. But yeah, you're right. What's the point of me even calling the police now? I'm putting myself at jeopardy because this is how your night resulted in. Yet again, you're drunk as hell and passed out somewhere randomly. That's tough.
Yo, that means.
And now wait, let me. It is once again because in court it was already proven by professionals, by other people who've been around her, by even several messages and comments that were provided between both of them. One of which we heard in the voice recording that she abuses alcohol. So this is a repeat character flaw of her.
That's so mind-blowing to me.
And only because
it's mind-blowing.
He was pushing her back into the car. It felt like he felt like he was doing it just too aggressively, and it led to this. Now,
fumbled, bro.
To also be clear, both charges are misdemeanors. Again, he might not even have to serve any time at all. But to the people who are saying, oh, don't worry about it, it's a misdemeanor, he don't have to serve no time, possibly. It's not really about that. It's about the perception that people have. I've already seen several news articles represent this entire story completely incorrectly. I've seen major publications claim that he was found guilty on both charges of assault. I've seen it. It's the concept that you as a man was found guilty of some form of assault against a woman. That's it. That's what it's found. That's it.
Reality is most people don't look into situations.
They don't.
They won't look at the details.
No.
They won't even know he was charged with 4 things, found guilty of 2.
Nope.
They'll just see, oh, he beat her.
Yep.
And that's
all they'll see.
People, that's the information they see from his verdict here. So now there's gonna be an ongoing perception. He's gonna have to fight for the rest of his life that he beat her, bro.
Yep. One of the biggest takeaways I get from this is that it is so disingenuous when men are asked repeatedly to understand women's POVs and relationship dynamics, right? As a man, you have to understand that if she sleeps with you too early, then you are that she may be considered a slut. If you are a man, you got to make sure you don't hover around her drink too much, because people do. They put roofies in her drink. If you are a man, you got to make sure you walk her to a car at night, because people are aggressive and they try to steal from women, etc., etc. If you are a man, there's so many aspects from a woman's POV that you have to understand. If it's that time of the month for her, you got to give her some leeway because she can be a little extra emotional. There's so many things, but women don't have to do that.
I don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck. They don't care.
POV.
They don't care.
To you, this is probably not that big of a deal, but that's part of the reason why I don't even like going out. Like, how do you even know who you can interact with? Everybody's drunk, and nowadays, if you're drunk, that doesn't even count as consent. So, like, what can you even do with anybody if you're drunk? Is it equal? Like, it's like, bro, that whole hassle, I'm not gonna lie, is not worth the future headache, bro. And the reality is, it's not that hard to treat people well or with some decency. And in this situation, I think he did the right thing. Running away was the only thing you can do when someone's being really aggressive. When someone feels like what's the word for that?
Entitled?
She's entitled. It's the entitlement from her that she can grab his phone. It's the entitlement for her that she could be aggressive around him. And it's the entitlement
Agent forgot what entitled was.
He's not going to do nothing to hurt her. And so she could be as aggressive as she wants. She could chase him 8 blocks if she wants to. And it's the patience and the reserve from him of backing away, stop, give me my phone back, backing away, and running 8 blocks. My nigga, what? Bro, that is what you should be coaching people to do. Like, if someone's being aggressive towards you, just de-escalate. De-escalate and remove yourself from the situation.
But you can't, but apparently they're saying that even when you're attempting to de-escalate, you can't do that too aggressively.
Bro,
you do that too aggressively, you might unintentionally harm that person, so now we gotta hit you with a charge.
where they do the work keep.
Police have that charge for every time they try to de-escalate, there'd be no police force in America. Because in the process of de-escalating, if someone's acting recklessly, sometimes they get hurt. The reality is, in this specific situation, it's way more likely she got hurt blackout drunk on a night by herself with some strangers. It's way more likely. She was walking into walls. Bro, that's like, blaming him for her drunk night out is pretty fucking bananas when there's literally no evidence to prove that he was acting aggressively or he was being violent. He has no history of those things. This just feels like fuck him, a complete lack of perspective or empathy, and now he gets to deal with the consequences of that. And the reality is, she will deal with zero. Genuinely, what is he supposed to do in that situation?
So that's the question.
If he's trying to remove himself from the car and she jumps on him like this, if he just goes anyway, there's a good chance she gets hurt because now she's being dragged along.
So that's why I said too, like, bro, her finger could have got bruised off the fact that if you took my phone and I'm trying to grab it from you and my hand overlaps in your hand and I'm pushing up against it, your finger could have got bruised then. Her finger could have got bruised as I'm running away. Your finger latches on into something because he was missing a button on one of his things. Sure, her finger could have got bruised off of that alone. There's so many things that her finger truly could have got bruised on. But I genuinely, to the people out there who believe that this man is guilty and he was still in the wrong, I ask you, what do you want from men to do in that scenario?
Deadass. What's he
Deadass. What do you want? What do you want? Because if the result of this all is that you are saying that it is fine, and when a woman puts her hands on a man, that a man just can't do nothing. He just has to figure out a way to remove himself from that situation without showing any form of physicality at all. If that's what you're saying, again, that is a concept that many women already believe, and it's the reason why many women act the way that she acted that night, because they know they can just do whatever.
The bar he has to reach for people to consider him innocent compared to the bar she has to reach for people to admit that she had a fucking wild night and she was the one who acted wrong is nuts. But yeah, let us know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Jonathan Majors lost his roles with Marvel. We'll see if anybody's willing to fucking employ him now. They're probably not for the foreseeable future, but let us know what y'all think in the comment section down below. If you missed our last video, which was just a few days ago, right before the verdict, go ahead and watch that. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. This is the Deshae video right here, man. I'm genuinely excited for it. Alright, episode 1 was a banger, okay? Episode 1 was a banger. Let's see what episode 2 brings.
I be messing with my dad's best friend. I was not that shit on the phone.
Yo, hopefully if they